session is kind of going to throw, again, like a ton of information at you. So kind of set a goal to be like, okay, if I leave here with 2 things that she said that I remember, you're in a great situation. So I kind of want to give you like a crash course, if you will, but I'm also going to send you follow-up emails today where you can get additional, I'll send you to hyperlink a whole bunch of great things where you can watch more training videos. They're recording the session so you can go back and watch it again, and just kind of give you an area where you can kind of, you know, I can't remember what Sheila said, but I know I can do it. How do I do it? And where you'd be able to find those resources. So I'll make sure you get it so you can put it on their platform that they can go to. Perfect. Okay, so this session, what we're gonna do is we are going to do a quick tour of the instant whiteboard. All those 5 bubbles that I showed you earlier today, I'm gonna kind of do a really quick tour of those. I'm gonna talk to you about how you can create classes and how you can enroll your kiddos to your class if you do wanna have a class instead of an open class. Then we're gonna have some time uploading some resources, some existing content that you already have. And then I'll show you how you can share on your class feed, if you will, which you're probably not gonna use that because I think you use Schoology for that, right? Is that typically, or am I wrong? If you make an announcement to your kids somewhere, you probably put it in Schoology. Okay, so I'll briefly just talk about that. And then we'll do creating lessons. I'll give you a brief overview of that lesson builder, the text tools, the shape tools, all of those good things. And then we already did the marketplace, so we can skip that actually. And then I'll end with you showing you our Learn Promethean page and our YouTube page to help you get some extra resources. And then you'll have some time hopefully to play and maybe create a lesson that you could think of for the fall that you might want to do with your kiddos. Okay, so I don't need to do that. All right, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. You already did it. Okay, so I'm actually gonna go to my computer for this now because I'm gonna be actually like building lessons, and it's much easier to build lessons on your computer than it is on a big, huge panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and exit the builder and just kind of show you again this page. So the first bubble here is called our instant whiteboard. So what I love about this is we have a whiteboard built into the panel, right? But you also have a whiteboard built into Classflow as well. So for example, I can have the ability, just if I want to, you know, honestly, you'll probably never really use this because you're probably going to use your whiteboard on the panel device instead. But let's say you're in Classflow and you just want a blank piece of paper and you want to use some tools here. You can be like, okay, kids, what's 2 + 2, right? Or whatever, and just use a quick whiteboard tool. But like I said, you have the whiteboard application built into the Android device that you're probably going to use more. And then Jessica's going to give you training on that. Has anybody played around with the whiteboard yet? Okay, it's like my favorite. It's my favorite. Okay, so you do have the ability here to have the instant whiteboard. You could send a blank instant piece of whiteboard right to the kids, and they have all these tools that they could play around with. So that's kind of cool. And you can even pull from here too, right? You can get your kids connected and you can send them a blank piece of paper and ask them a question. So I just love that the whiteboard gives you kind of like these little tools in here and all that kind of good stuff. So there is an instant whiteboard. Anytime in Classflow, if you want to exit something and go back to like that main screen, there's the back button doesn't work. You have to use the building tools within Classflow. You can't use those shortcuts like Control V, Control, C for copy. So right here, you're going to see this little hamburger, right? Call it a hamburger. I click this button and it's going to exit. I want to exit this. And I can either save it or don't save it. It's totally up to you, but I'm not going to save that. And it brings me back to my landing page. So just remember, if you're in Classflow and you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get back to somewhere? Look for that waffle, those 3, or that hamburger, those 3 little lines, those 3 lines on top of each other, and exit whatever you're in, and it'll take you back to this landing page. So within Classflow, you're going to see that I have the next button here. I have a start a quick poll. So this is, again, if I want to just randomly, I just had a question come up in my head and I want to see what my kids have their devices in front of them and I want to get some feedback. I could click start a quick poll and then I could select my one of 8 polling questions and then they're going to get a blank card and they can answer whatever you ask them. So it's not going to have anything cute on it, right? Because if I want something cute on it, what do I need to do before? I need to create it, right? So this is just a quick little polling question. So we do have that ability to be able to just start a quick poll as well. For today's session, we're really going to be focusing on creating a lesson. So I'll get to that in a minute. And I've already kind of showed you activity. And I'm not even going to talk to you about assessments because that's a whole nother day of training. So really, we're just going to kind of focus on the create a lesson area. If I want to create a lesson from scratch, and another thing too is up here in the little upper right hand corner, you're going to see a little open class. This is my open class. I could tap that and switch my classes and change to classes, a different class. If I have 7th grade, right, you probably have what, 5, 6 classes, okay? And then you can change your classes that way as well. So that's just a quick little, the 5 bubbles. Here is the classes part now. So what I kind of like to tell teachers, this is kind of very similar to like if you're familiar with Google Classroom. I honestly don't know what Schoology looks like from a teacher's perspective because you have to have a paid account. But I'm assuming they have like a middle area where you can send messages to your kids, right? So this is very similar to Google Classroom or Schoology. So maybe I want to type a message, hey kiddos, read the attached PDF and be ready for tomorrow, right? And then I can select what class it goes to if I've created my classes ahead of time. And then I have the ability to upload that PDF. I can either click the paperclip and it's going to take me to my resources within Classflow, right? It's kind of like my Google Drive. But typically you're probably not going to have a lot of stuff in there just yet. So I want to upload it instead. So upload would bring me to, again, my computer, and then I can upload whatever resource I want from here. So if I want my kids to do this little quiver activity, I can just post that, upload it, and then post it. Oops, I didn't select the class. Let's do first hour and post it. So now it went to my kiddos in first hour.
Can you upload from Google Drive?
Yes, so I'll show you. That's a great question.
So.
Oh, you're getting rid of Google Drives?
No. They're Q Drive, which is a server.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll show you. Remind me today. There's a little step where you can get your Google Drive connected to Classflow, and then you can go from there. It's not a perfect integration. I'm going to be totally honest. You kind of have to. You could connect your OneDrive so you can see it on here, but then you have to click it and copy it to Classflow. So you have to do an extra step. Does that make sense? But it's not terrible. Okay. Yep. But yeah, great question.
Can we import or upload?
So we're only connected with Dropbox, Google Drive, and OneDrive. Yeah. So this is kind of like the feed here. So for example, you know how I just did that lesson with you earlier today? That Classflow, the polling where I asked you questions? Guess where it's at? It's in my feed. So I can go back and look at it and check out that data and see who said what. So this is where, like, anytime I poll my kids and I want to go back and look at it, it's in my feed. Kids can't see this, but you can. Okay. So the feed is just an area where you can see what you've delivered to your kids, what you've posted, all that kind of good stuff. Then I have right here, underneath classes, the ability to do new. So if I had actual kids in my class and I selected import Google Classroom, it's going to tap, it'll have you select what Google Classroom you want to import, and all those kids, their names will automatically be put in for you. So I can't show you that process, but it's super easy. It's just a nice, quick little integration. If you don't want to do import from Google Classroom or you don't have Google Classroom, you're going to select add a class. After you select add a class, you're going to be prompted to give it a name. So maybe I'm going to call it Sydney PD, right? You don't have to give it a subject if you don't want to, and you don't have to give it a grade level. Totally teacher preference if you want to. Then this is the question I get asked a lot. Why should I do student generated versus teacher generated? Teacher generated is for those kindergartners and first graders who might mess up typing in their name, right? And so teachers want to create it themselves, okay? I tell teachers to do the student-generated class because as you can see here, there's a couple things that those kindergarten and first grade teachers are gonna not be able to do, which is assignments and have student accounts. Not a big deal because you're probably not gonna send your kid an assignment in kindergarten and first grade and have them do it in Classflow, right? Student accounts, what that means is they will have to like scan a QR code every time and then get linked to your class. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just kids with elementary, younger kiddos are easy with, they can scan a QR code with their iPad and then they're connected with that content that we did earlier today. Like it just gets sent to them. But basically student accounts means that kids have to go to classflow.com and instead of selecting teacher, they select student. Just like you created an account, they would have to create an account. So like me as a teacher, my first couple days of school was me walking through my kids creating Google Classroom accounts, right? Very similar to what you would do in Classflow. You would walk them through step by step, you know, here, click on this, create your username. Do you guys have like specific usernames that the kids use?
Yeah.
Okay, so that could transfer over. So you might ahead of time have a card for them with their username and their password. Because I mean, if the one thing that's a bummer is if they lose their password, you want to have a copy of it as a teacher so you can get in there.
Their passwords are the same for everything.
Okay, perfect. So that you could just tell them to use the same password that they use, right? But they might screw up too when they make it. So you know what, they're making that count, not, you know, so just keep that in mind. So it's a student, I always kind of tell teachers do a student generated class instead. And then so once they choose this, then you're gonna say, okay kids, go to classflow.com. They're gonna type in that code and then they'll be rostered to your class. All right, and we have videos to walk you through this step by step too. So when you actually do it, it'll make sense. Okay, so any questions on classes?
Is there a benefit to making the class over just using an open class?
Well, so for middle school teachers, I typically tell them to, I mean, honestly, it's probably, they already have a Schoology account, so I honestly would probably run everything in Classflow as an open class. Personally, me. But if you're a teacher that's gonna go back into Classflow and look at that data, it might be better for you because when you do it to open class, you're not gonna know what class you did it with. Does that make sense?
So if you want to reflect on the data that over time,
Yes.
you definitely want to make it.
If you wanna reflect on that data that you're doing with the polling, you're definitely gonna wanna make classes.
And then the kids' sign is the same, or is different for each class period.
Right,
So they'll have the same sign in for your class every time, but it's assigned to just your class.
right. And it's easier for them to sign in after they get rostered with you.
Right.
They just have to find their name and they're entered.
So once you create it, so they actually have like a class code and then it creates it.
Yeah, so like my open class code is different than my other class codes. You get a different code for every class. Yep.
So when the kid logs in, let's say, you know, Susan and I are teamed together and we both created. Do they log in like Google Classroom and see and click which class once they're
Yep.
already in?
Yep,
So
they'll
would
see if they have multiple teachers, they'll see which class they want. Yes. Yeah, great question. Yep. Okay, so now let's kind of, any other questions though before we move on? Okay, So now let's kind of talk about creating a lesson. So let's say, okay, you're on board with Classflow. I'm gonna give it a try. I've already checked out Marketplace and saw some cool lessons, but I kind of need to make my own. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go to either create a lesson right here, or there's another way you can do it from the resources tab. I personally like to make it from my resources tab because here's like, you know, with your Google Drive, if you have folders and you click new within that folder, where does that lesson go to? Goes to that specific folder, right? So for example, like if I'm in my training, like I create folders right now, I could click new and I could create a folder. So let's say I am going to teach music. That would be funny, but let's say I'm going to teach music class. So if I create a lesson for my music class, if I am highlighted on music right now, and I select new and lesson, guess where that lesson's going to go? In that music folder. But if I just click new from my new from my home screen, it's just going to go. It's not going to be organized. And I'm a type A person, so I like to have folders within folders, and you know. But again, it's a total teacher preference. So you can either start it here, or you can go to resources. You can create your folders like I just showed you, and then select that folder and create it from within there. So I'm going to be in music here today. I'm going to create a lesson. Assignment, I'm not going to talk about that at all. Assessment, I'm not going to talk about that. Not going to talk about any of these things right now except for lesson. Okay? So I'm going to create a new lesson, and it's going to bring me to our lesson builder area. So this is where I put content in as a teacher. One thing that I tell teachers to do first, immediately, because it's web-based, it saves automatically for you. You don't have to click save. Give it a name right away. So let's say you're going to call it my morning meeting, right, for my kids. So I gave it a title, and now it's saved. Right here you see card notes. How many of you ever use your card notes? Does anybody? Some, maybe, okay. So I'm not a card notes user, so I want to get rid of that guy so I have more space to work with. So I like to kind of hide that little card notes, and then I can start to play. So then what you're going to see down here, one of the first things that I tell my teachers to do is I love that teacher-student card mode. So I want to see that. So I'm going to put it in teacher-student card mode so I can see if I want to send stuff to my students right away or not. It's just a preference that I like. You don't have to do that. But so now I'm kind of getting ready to make my lesson here, and I have some options up here on the top. This first button, this insert button, is going to become your best friend. So insert, let's talk about that in a minute. Selector tool, that's just like a cursor, right? If you want to move an object, you're going to want to make sure you select that selector tool. Shapes tool, so let's say I want to put in a circle, or let's say, I got to select shapes here. Let's say I want to have a rectangle. Here's a rectangle. Maybe I want to fill it orange, or have the outside orange, fill it orange here. So like a shape tool, right? Basic shape tool. I can move things around. And then I have this little rotating option here. I can rotate it as well. And then this little settings cogwheel. If I click on that, it's going to give me some options here. So I can duplicate it. Let's say I want another exact same shape like that. I can duplicate it. Let's say I want to reorder it. Maybe I had a picture in the background, like a beach picture, and I couldn't see those squares. They disappeared, right? I might need to bring it to the front or bring it to the back or what have you. You can rotate things. This is when it's going to come in handy. Maybe you don't want kids to move things, or maybe you don't want things to move around when you're up at the panel and you're touching it. You can anchor things. You can anchor all movement, right? Or anchor all of these, movement, resize, and rotate. Or you can just anchor, resize, and rotate if you want your kids to actually move the item. So just kind of play around with that, because sometimes you might want things to be able to be moved but not resized or rotated. Actions. This is where you can apply those things like drag a copy, right? The infinite cloner that you're used to. Or if I want to click this button and it go to another card, I can do that. Or show and hide, or reorder, or drag and drop to a container. So this is where Classflow lacks in actions versus Active Inspire. Active Inspire has a lot more actions than Classflow. Okay, so that you're limited on what you can do here. So maybe I want to clone on drag. Maybe I want this guy to be clone on drag. I would click clone on drag and click save. And now this guy is, when I'm in preview mode, because that was in preview mode, now he can see, now he's can be moved around. But this guy I didn't click it to, so he just can move around. Okay. So here's another thing too that I like to tell teachers. Do you see how when I clicked on this, it didn't do anything here? Why do you think that's the case?
Because you don't want to always make multiple copies when you're trying to build your.
Exactly, because I'm in preview, I'm in builder mode right now. If I want to see what it's going to look like from a student's perspective, I'm going to hit that preview button as if I'm delivering it to the class. And then I can see if that works, see what it looks like from a student's perspective. So I always tell teachers, you know, if you want to see, if you put an action on your paper, you're not going to see it work in preview mode. You have to click, or you're not going to see it in builder mode. You want to click preview to be able to see what it's going to look like when the students see it. And then that deliver button, that just if I want my kids to have this content, I would click deliver and it's going to get sent to their device. So anytime I want to send information to my kids, I'm going to deliver it. They have to get connected first, right? And I'll see how many kids are in my graduation cap, right? And then I can deliver that button, and then those kids get that content. Okay, so that's the shape tool. Text tool is very similar to a text box, right? I can just say text, right? Change the size if I want it to be right to here. I can apply the same actions to text as I can to shapes. You know, here's your different types of fonts. Again, you're limited. So that's one negative of Classflow versus Active Inspire. And then your sizing. You can make things, oops, if I double tap on it, you can make things bold, you know, all that kind of good stuff. Align it. Typical text tool stuff. I have a pen tool, so I can just use a pen if I want to. Don't laugh at me, I don't have a touch screen. So I'm using my cursor. But I could write, you know, with a pen. And then I can change it to highlighter as well. Eraser, I can take an eraser and erase content. Okay, I don't know if you can change the thickness. You can't change the thickness of your eraser here. Wait, maybe you can. I don't think you can. So just eraser there. The next one is the toolbox. So I kind of showed you this a little bit earlier today, but let's say you want your kids to have a protractor. Voila, here's a protractor, and they can use it. Ruler, compass, set square, revealer. Love the spotlight and revealer tool. So maybe if I want to, you know, show off certain parts of my lesson, I have that. And then this is what it would look like from a student's perspective, right? You can kind of move it around. And then widgets. So widgets are those little, I'm going to take away the spotlight, close it. This is kind of like some pre-made spinners, generators, random name generators, CDC generators, things like that. So base 10 blocks are going to be in here, but you can just search something and maybe you want to say base 10. And then you could find some of those widgets. It's thinking here, oh, base 10, it didn't like it. So maybe just say, I don't know, whatever.
Does it have dice?
I don't know if it's in this area or if it's in the class. Okay, so yeah, there is a dice in here. So there we go. We got a dice. And then I'm going to preview it, and then it rolls the dice.
Can you show them the revealer too? Because I know they're using that this morning.
Yes, the revealer. Yep, so revealer right here. And you can just kind of go up and down. And I think you can go, oops, I got stuff behind it now. See, I got too much stuff going on. I think the revealer works this way too. Nope, I lied. I don't know. I'd have to play around here. I got too much stuff going on in the background, but I thought you could. It might be just me not, oh yeah, it's just me. Just user error. Okay. And then you have the camera. So, Lord be, I could take a picture of myself, right? Put it in there. Or I could upload another image from here as well. So, all right, we don't need to see me. This is an assessment area. I'm not going to talk about this because it opens up a whole nother area, but essentially I could put a question on this card and then send it to my kids, but I could just easily type a text too. So just know that you could pre-make a whole bunch of questions. Maybe you ask it all the time. So if it's a question that you ask all the time, maybe think about creating that question and having it there in your bank. You know, and you can just easily import that question onto the card. This is another button that you're going to use a lot, the link button. So I have the ability to either insert a link or a custom HTML embedded link. And I'll talk to you about the differences in a minute. But for example, if I want to insert a, you know, go to Kahoot, right? Kahoot a lot. We go to Kahoot all the time. So maybe I just want to kind of insert a link to there. I could call it Kahoot. Paste the link in here. So Control V does work here. Don't know why it doesn't work in other areas, but so I could paste that link in there. And then I have some options. I can either display it as a link. So watch what happens when I do that. I'm going to select Add to Current Card. And so super small. Look at that. Believe me, we've asked for that to be fixed because as a teacher, I want to be able to make that bigger or not. So then when I preview it, if my kids click on that, it takes them right to that link. Okay, but maybe I don't want the words in there. Maybe I want it to actually say the website. Then I just wouldn't put the title up here. I would just put the actual website and say Add to Current Card, and then voila, there's the link. Okay. Let's say though in this link area, I want to embed a video from YouTube because we go and watch a video and I don't want, you know, the ads to pop up or what have you. So I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to find a sea turtle video and I want my kids to watch this video. And so let me just play it, let the ads skip for a second here. Because I want to show this on the panel too after I get done. Okay, so I'm going to go back to 0. And right here what YouTube does, they have the ability in YouTube to be able to embed their video so that it fills up the whole card. So it's not just a little link. So if I click share, and a lot of websites will do an embed link too. So, and then I'm going to click, instead of clicking the link right here, I'm going to click embed. And it's going to give me this big old code, right? So I'm going to say start at 0 and I'm going to say copy. It's copied this HTML code. Now I'm going to go back to Classflow and I'm just going to paste it in here. So I'm pasting the HTML code. And then I'm going to say update. And it's going to kind of, I should have did this on another card, but here's the video. And let me click preview. Okay, that did not work. Actually, maybe I just have it small. Let me go back. I have a hot mess. Let me add a new card. So perfect time to talk about adding a new card. So I have a whole lot going on in this card. I'm going to click add card. So now I have a new card down here. Let's try that embed code one more time. Maybe I didn't copy it perfectly. Paste. And then, oh yeah, see, so I'm going to say add to current card. There we go. So now I can't play it, right? Because I'm in builder mode. But if I click preview, here's that video. And anytime you can, I highly suggest you find a 360-degree video because watch what happens. And actually, I should work. But this is a 360-degree video. YouTube, oh, hang on. Look at 360-degree videos on the panel. Kids love it. I can go up and down, right? and just kind of have fun with that video. So love that I can embed videos right within Classflow. Don't have to worry about the ads. It takes away the ads and all that kind of good stuff. Any questions so far? Okay, so let's go ahead and add a new card here. While I'm kind of, and then the other areas too is you have the ability to, let me go back to this card. You have the ability to clear. So if I want to clear all my annotations, like let's say my kids were up here making annotations, and I don't want to use that eraser, right, and erase everything, I can just click clear annotations. It takes everything away. Or I can clear my shapes, right? I could clear my text or clear all, and it's going to take everything away. Okay, oh, except for that guy, didn't take him away because so just know that you have that clear button, and then you also have a fill option too. So maybe you want to fill your background to be blue instead of white, right? Lots of different colors to choose from. Okay, so down here, you saw me add a new card by clicking this little cogwheel. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the cogwheel, and you can see here that I have some options. I can change the background. So it's going to give me some pre-made, Promethean put these in here for you, some pre-made background options. I can upload a new one if I want to, right, from here. I could change it to just a color. Music, or no, that's my folder. That's my folder. So it's going to show you your folders as well. So maybe you have an image already uploaded in here. You can just select that image and put it in here as well. Or like I said, you can click upload your new resource. Another thing that you can do is you can duplicate. So let's say I have this card and I want it again. So I can click duplicate, and it's going to make the other card, same card right below it. Now, teacher card versus student card. Maybe I want to send this video to my students and watch it right away. So I have the ability to duplicate to student card, and look at it, gets sent there. So when you press deliver, it's gonna, if it's on a student card, it's gonna automatically go to them when you started that lesson at the beginning of the session. If you didn't put it on this teacher card or the student card, they're gonna see like a landscape picture like you saw sometimes earlier today in the earlier session. Or maybe I want them to watch the video up here at the panel, and I want them to answer questions. So what I could do on the student card is now I could tap on the student card and I could put in, watch this video and be ready to discuss, right? And so now I have maybe some questions on this card. Oops, I can't spell. For my kids to answer. Yes.
Do the 360 videos, like if they're put out to the Chromebooks, can the students manipulate that also? Or is it just through the interactive panel that it manipulates?
Well, it's a 360-degree video. I'd have to test it out. Is anybody in my class right now? No. But I wonder if Chromebooks have 360-degree. I think they would.
Yeah, they should be able to manipulate it.
Yeah, great question. I'd have to test it out, but I'm thinking yes. Because if they can go to a web browser, YouTube, then yeah. Yep.
So the teacher card would be up there, and then when you deliver, the student would be here. So the video would be up there, and their questions would be here.
Yep. So, and again, some teachers just like to, they don't even mess with the student cards, but some like to utilize that feature. Some teachers have to just press send every time, Me personally, I don't want to do that because I'll forget to send it to them. They're like, Mrs. Walsker, where is it? And you're like, oh, shoot, I didn't, send it to you. So, all right. So another thing is maybe you want to show a card, or maybe you want to just hide a certain card. So like maybe, I don't need to show this one to my students. I can hide it, and then the students won't see it. So that hide button, maybe it's just for you, right? Or I could show, and if I want to delete a card, I can just click delete and it goes away as well. Here's a kind of a cool feature, and I wish I wouldn't have deleted all my stuff, but let's say I have like, hello, I have another shape here, and I have a pen, right? So I have a whole bunch of stuff on my paper, and I built my lesson, and I'm gonna be showing it up here, and the kids are gonna come and interact with it. But I don't want them to move any of the pieces. I want them all anchored. So we have a little cheat way to do right here where you can anchor all components, and then now the kids can't move those. So you can anchor them all at once instead of having to click each individual object. So just a little time saver there. And then if you want to unanchor them, you can unanchor them. And then this is just import a question. So like I said, if there's a question that you ask your kids every day, maybe you want to consider, doing that. Add a card, I already kind of showed that. Add a section. So that's just kind of giving you another, like maybe day 2, right? Unit 1, unit 2. I don't know, something like that. So let's add a card. And then you can also set to be the cover card. So maybe you want this to be the very first card that shows up, you can set it. I love this button right here where you can copy this card to another lesson. So maybe I use the same, like my bell ringer format's the same on every lesson. I don't have to recreate it every time. I can just go find it from that lesson and click copy to another card, and then find that lesson and select it, and it'll go to that card, to that lesson. So you don't have to remake cards or slides. You can just copy it and copy it to that lesson. Okay, how are we doing so far? Any questions? Okay, so down here is another area where I just kind of use, honestly, I never use this button. I just use the cogwheel here because those features are in here, add card, add section, as they are here. So I honestly never use that button. So right here you have zoom in and zoom out, redo and undo buttons. You have a collaborate button as well. So this is key because let's say you have a co-teacher and you have the same lesson and you both want to make changes together. You have the ability to kind of both make changes in real time together. So what I'm going to do now to kind of show off that collaborate feature is I'm going to go ahead and exit this builder for a second. And let's say one of your colleagues loves one of your lessons that you did. You can do a couple things. You can either, right here you have some options with your lessons here. So this is selected. I can either print it, move it to a folder, delete it, lock it, add an assessment, or export it as a PDF. So maybe my kids, we did this today together and I want them to have a PDF copy of it. I can export that whole lesson for my kids as a PDF. I can also download it. I can also copy it. And this is the share button. So if I click share, I can share it privately with people and send them an email, or send them, just copy and paste this link and put it in an email and send it to them, right? Or I can preview it if I want to, edit some properties. I'll talk about those in a minute. I can publish it to Marketplace if I want to, maybe if I want other teachers to use it, edit or deliver. So let me go back to my morning meeting, for example. And let's say I want to have me and another teacher working on it on the same time. Because if I just clicked share earlier, that teacher is going to get a copy of it. And whatever changes they make is their own. It's not going to affect yours. But if you do collaborate right here, and you need to know that if I select this button, the other teacher that's in here is going to make changes, and it's going to make changes on my copy too, because it's like one. It's like a Google Doc, right? You can share it, give them editing privileges, right? So that's how you can do that as well. Now let's kind of spend some time on talking about this insert button, because I skipped it and it's the button that you're going to use the most. So I really want to kind of spend a good chunk of time talking about, 5 minutes I should say. So, okay, well, so if I hit the insert button, right here you're going to see my resources. So this is again like your Google Drive. So after a while, it's going to start to get big, right? Because you're creating folders and making lessons and all that good stuff. But we have a Classflow resource pack here for you, full of tons of different resources that you could use to build your lessons. So maybe I want to look for a Venn diagram, right? Search Venn diagram, voila, tap it, insert it, it goes there on my page. Okay? So we have a plethora of resources for you already. I mean, you could literally spend 2 hours just in the Classflow resource pack. I mean, there's tons of different things in there. Bing images. So this is basically if I want to just find an image off the internet. So I can find an image, right, for a dog. Click dog. He's cute. I'm going to tap on him and click insert. So he brings it in there and I can change the size of him and all that kind of good stuff. But let's say I have an image on my computer, right? Because honestly, that's probably what I do most of the time. Just find the image myself, have it on my computer. Here's that beach ball again, right, that I showed you in Active Inspire. Slide that over and that image gets brought into my lesson as well. I don't know why that beach ball is so big. It's changing the size, but so you can see here now I have that image as well. So I can drag from my computer or I can click insert here and find images from Bing. I can also do YouTube videos. So let's say I want to find a video on, I don't know, let's just say sea turtles again, right? I can click, obviously you're probably going to preview it first, right? Preview it, click on that image and insert it in here. And you could, now you have a YouTube video on here. So that's another way to get a YouTube video brought in rather than doing that HTML code that I showed you earlier. But for some reason, when you search YouTube here, not as many of them come up. So I like to search on YouTube myself.
And you got to that with how? Just resources?
Yes, so this insert button, this is your best friend button. Just remember, if I ever want to put something on my page, the insert button is your best button, and that's why it's first on here. Yep. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and cancel and go start over again. So I want to maybe find a image or something from the internet, like an article or something, a web page. So again, I could tap Bing web pages, and maybe I want to find, sea turtle again for Wikipedia, or actually let's do National Geographic. So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to insert this on this page, and now it's going to take some time. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to do, so I just click preview because I'm a clicker. And now you can see kids can now scroll this article right on this one card. So I have the ability to have, articles inserted as well, and it fits in the whole screen. Some of them will embed perfectly. Some of them will require kids to click open, and then it's going to open it to a new page. But that's another thing that I love about Classflow is everything that I put on here, the kids don't have 16 tabs open. They have one, this Classflow lesson.
That slows some Chromebooks down.
And it does. It slows Chromebooks down. It gets them confused. They close things out. So if you put everything in a Classflow lesson, they have one thing open. One thing. And they can do it all right here within Classflow, which can be, save some tears maybe for you and the kids. All right, so that's kind of, again, remember there's two different ways that you can insert links. You can insert it here, or if you know the link ahead of time, you can insert it here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for me. I was hoping you guys would be able to get time to play around. I must have talked a little too much. So
I have a question.
Yes.
So because, I might have 5 classes, once I have created the lesson in my resources, if I have a class created, then it's gonna show up, it looks like on my resources, and so I just add it to each.
You just got it.
just like that.
And then you could choose what class you want to send it to.
Right, okay.
Yep, you don't have to do it a million times. Yeah. And this is the other thing too, I did kind of talk to you about this, but there's save button. You can change, there's themes. So like with PowerPoint or Google Slides, you can change the background like a chalkboard, if you want a cute look. We have some themes in here. Don't worry about properties. Card size. I tend to tell teachers, do the ultra wide because it looks best on the panel. Okay, so it's preset for that. But if you wanted a small card, you could click it and see how much smaller it is. A lot of gray space. And I personally don't like that, but it's a teacher preference.
But there's no custom.
There's no custom. Yeah, great question. There's no custom. It's
I
just
just
these
know
four.
because vertical worksheets or whatever sometimes can be distorted.
Right.
Put them on like PowerPoint or Google
Right.
Slides or something like that.
Yeah, and honestly, like one thing I didn't show you is this insert button right here. So this is also my best friend. So I can insert a PDF onto this card, just this card. So let's say I want my kids to do a worksheet, right? So I'm glad you said that because I would have forgot to show you this. If I would have selected upload new resource, it brings me to my computer, and let's say I want this worksheet for my kids to do. I'm going to click open, and it's going to put that on this card. If it was multiple pages, they would have a little document viewer to do. And so now, oops, did I do the wrong one? I got to do it again. Insert, upload, maybe I'm just see, it's yelling at me. I'm just being impatient. Oh, and then, come on. Come on. And it's here, there. No, I did it again. I don't know. I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. But it's not
Did you go
liking
to
me.
preview?
No, that's inserting the page that I had earlier. So actually, let me just upload. Let me find maybe it's, you know what? This is why, because I'm not on my resources. See, here it is. So here's the file. And then I'm going to click insert, and now it brought that worksheet here. So obviously it's huge, right? I could scroll up and down like this. Or if I wanted just a screenshot of it, I could use that snipping tool, right? Open up, take a picture of the worksheet, and drag a copy of the image over. But I can resize this too and rotate it, right? So this is huge. It's kind of bugging me. I don't like it that big. Where's the resizer? And there we go. Where's the little blue resizers? I don't see him. Oh, there it is. I don't know why I brought it there, but it did. So I can resize that. Oh, I'm getting click happy and it's not liking me. Let's refresh. So where is my, okay, we're just gonna preview it. We're not. I don't know, it's not liking me right now. I don't know, I must have done something to lock it.
Staff, if you could work yourselves out to the tree on the
But you do
north
have
side
the
of the
ability, I don't know
building
why it's
for
not
the
letting me,
dedication.
it's frozen right now.
I appreciate it, thank you.
But you do have the ability to kind of resize those images too. When that little rectangle shows up, you can resize it, make it smaller, and rotate that worksheet to fit this way instead. Yeah. Again, I don't know why it's doing that. It's really kind of bugging me, but yeah. All right, that was a lot, but
And you just showed how to import a PDF.
Yes.
You said you would also show us how to get something from our Google Drive.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Do you is it okay? I'm going over your time. Okay. Okay, so over here, what you can do is you have the ability to get connected to your Google Drive or your OneDrive or your Dropbox. So what I would do is I would tap, I'm already connected to it. So I would tap Google Drive, and you're gonna have to say like allow or things like that the first time, but now you can see I have all of my files here, right? So here's all my folders for my Google Drive. Let's say I wanted to do some activity with my kids in my beginning of the year. So let's say this back to school one pager I want them to do. So I have it right here, but it's not in my resources just yet. It's showing me they're linked, but I got to get it from Google Drive into my Classflow account. So what I do then is I click copy. So when I click copy, It's already in there, I already said yes, so I'm just gonna say yes, okay? So now what happens is, it'll create a folder for you. Once it does it, it'll come up here in the middle. And I'm actually just gonna go to my resources, because once it does it, oh, see, it's thinking again. It creates a folder called Google Drive. See, I'm just impatient. But it'll create a folder called Google Drive, just like it did for Marketplace. So let me do it again so you can actually see it. Let's find something that I haven't imported over. Argument paper. It's fine. Okay, so the Zoo Argument Planner. So I'm gonna click copy. Copying might take some time depending on how long it is. I'm gonna be patient and wait. Once it does it, again, it's making a liar out of me. Click on my resource. There it is. See, so imported from Google Drive. So now I have an imported from Google Drive folder, and I can just sit and click. Yeah. And what I kind of like to show teachers, like, you know, the importing thing is like, if I click new and upload file, what I love about importing stuff, so let me go to my Classflow folder. If I go to my Classflow trainings and I select a PDF, this is a multiple page document. So like right here, let's just do landforms. And I'm gonna do this little one right here. What I love is it's gonna import it, click continue. And again, it's gonna take some time. But once it does, it says upload failed. Maybe I need to give it some time. It'll show up in that middle area there, and then it's its own lesson, you know. So you can just send that content to your kids.
It's easy.
Yep. Ugh, and it's really does not like me today.
Did you try?
But yeah, so that's how you can upload existing content too. Like you can just click resources new, and I think we did it. Did we do it in the last session?
Which one? The Google Drive or the?
New, and then I clicked upload, and then I can convert my existing content and not have to start over. Like here's a PowerPoint, right? I can import a PowerPoint, and it's going to say, do you want to convert? And I say yes. And so I have a PowerPoint here or a PDF. It's not, they both of them failed. It is not like me importing stuff today. But essentially, I'm trying to see if I can find my dinosaur one, because I did it before, maybe, or landforms. So that's a flip chart. That's not the one, it's a PowerPoint. Actually, no, that was a flip chart. So if I would have selected the flip chart, this is just a flip chart that I have, like a smart notebook, right? And I converted it over, and it puts it each on an individual card. So, you know, just uploading existing content. And you can, you know, move things around. Yeah. All right. That's a crash course, but let me know if you have any questions. You can reach out to your tech coaches, and then I can give them the answer, and then they can relay it back to you. But if I don't see you again today, have a great school year. Great summer.